This video is sponsored by My Property Stats, the all-in-one toolkit for all real estate investors. Hey guys, what's going on? My name's Hayden Crabtree. Hope you're doing awesome. Today, we're gonna talk about how to analyze my favorite kind of real estate investment, which is value add properties. Now, in my second book, I talk about there are 4 different really kinds of projects. Number 1 is turnkey. Number 2 is stabilized. Number 3 is value add. And number 4 is development or redevelopment. And so today I'm gonna be talking about my favorite, which is value add. The reason that value add is my favorite is because I really like development, I like redevelopment, but it's a lot of energy, it's a lot of effort, but it offers really high returns when it's done right. Value add is the one step below that where you can still make huge returns on projects, have really strong cash flow, have really strong IRRs, turn $1 into $3 or $4 through equity upside, but you don't have to take on nearly as much risk because what we're doing is we're taking what's already there and we're making it a little bit better. And so that's why we're adding value. It could be through, a light rehab, stuff of that nature. We're gonna dive into all of that inside of this video. And this video is actually sponsored by My Property Stats. We're gonna use My Property Stats, which is my software I built for real estate investors, built by me for everything I want in a real estate software as an investor. We're gonna use that. So let's dive in and I wanna show you guys exactly how this is gonna be done. Let's do it. All right, so when we're inside of here, the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna analyze a new deal. And this is actually a new feature we released, which is I'm going to use a template. And I have a couple of different template here that I've started to make my life easier when I'm analyzing deals. We're gonna analyze a storage project, and I've already built out a storage template. I'm just gonna click here and I'm gonna use this template to analyze a deal. And so as you can see here, a lot of my project has already been filled out. My loan terms, my interest rates, my improvements, things of that nature are already filled out, and that's why I love My Property Stats so much. Let's talk about the deal that we're gonna analyze, okay? So this deal is currently on LoopNet. It's a listed deal. It's 14,000 square feet storage in Pensacola, Florida at 1.897. If we look at this project, it's really not the nicest project, right? We're looking around here. It doesn't look, it's gravel. It's not first class. It could probably use a paint job. I don't think that it has any cameras. I don't think that it has a gate. So let's just look at this thing on the actual maps. One of the things that I love to do whenever I'm looking at properties is just get on Google Maps and kind of drive around the neighborhood, so to say. And let's take a look at what this actually looks like. So we're going to drop in here and let's find it. It doesn't look like it took us to the right storage spot. So we're going to look around Pensacola, Florida. Did I get the zip code right? 32505. So that's interesting. So I can't even find it on the map. So let's go down here and see what this looks like. We're going to aerial, we're going to zoom in, and it doesn't look like this is at that address. It looks like it's at a different address. So let's see. This is on North Halifax and Fulton Ave. So let's see if we can find North Halifax and Fulton Ave. Fulton Ave, Pensacola, Florida. And there we go. So we found Star Storage. It was the wrong address. What is the actual address here? 70524 North Halifax. Okay, so you got to look around. You got to make sure that's right. So let's drop our little guy in here, and we could see this was taken in 2021. I'm recording this in February of 2022. So it looks pretty new. Okay, so the facility doesn't look all that bad. It looks like we have a keypad. If I look here, it looks like they might have some cameras. It is not paved, which is fine. I mean, I've owned some not paved facilities. Doesn't mean it's the end of the world. But as we look through here, facility itself doesn't look bad. So let's go read more into this project and what they're pitching here. So this project is 19,800 net rentable square feet, not the 14,000 square feet they listed up here. Here's the right address. Key data, almost 20,000 square feet. The current NOI is 108,000 and they're asking 1.897. So let's see what kind of cap rate that is. 1.08359 divided by 1.897,123. So that's a 5.7 cap, which I think that, a project this size in this market, which is a tertiary market, it's a smaller deal, should probably be more about a 7 cap in today's dollars. So we're going to see what can we do in order to raise that and to get it to a good investment. Because if we just buy this thing straight up on a 5.7 cap and don't plan to add value, then we're never going to have a really strong positive return. We're probably never really going to make above 5% cash on cash. We might not ever actually have a good, solid, positive IRR. It might just be a place to park money, right? So this is why I think this is a value add, is because of 0.5 here, significantly below the market rates. And let's kind of read here. So they have 5x5 drive ups. they're charging 32 to 40. A public storage is charging 67. Stars is charging 10 by 10. They're charging 65 to 88. Storage King is charging 129. Stars is 10 by 15 is 74 to 99. U-Haul is 150. One interesting thing is they've kind of selectively picked here which competitor they use instead of one singular competitor. So that's definitely interesting. And then let's take a look at the attachments here and see if we can get a count on how many different units they have of each size. Okay, I didn't see anything there. Let's see this one. All right, so I don't see a unit count here. I don't see anything about their income. I don't see anything about their unit count, which is okay. We can still analyze this deal. We don't really need all of that information, okay? So here's what we're going to do, guys, is we're just going to analyze this deal straight up. So we're going to go over to my property stats. We're going to plug in the purchase price of $1.897 million. And you can see I got my cap rate of 7% plugged in here. I'm going to analyze this at an 80% LTV. Well, on a 20-year amortization schedule at a 5% interest rate with a half a point paid up front. That would mean my mortgage payment on this is $10,000 a month. And if we go back and we remember, what do they say the NOI on this deal is? It's $108,000. Now, if we think about the project itself, if you remember, it goes income minus operating expenses equals NOI. So they're saying their NOI is $108,000. They have not given us their income or their expenses. They have given us the NOI minus debt service equals our cash flow. So if we know, these are standard storage rates right now. If we know if we borrow up to 80%, our mortgage payment is going to be $10,000 a month. $10,000 a month is $120,000 a year. If their NOI, 108, minus our debt service of 120, that gives us a negative $12,000 of cash flow straight from the rip, right? So that's fine. Let's go through. We're going to add some improvements here. We're not going to fill anything out yet. I'm going to show you how to do this. But I think if they want to charge premium rates, then we're going to need to go and make this a premium facility, okay? So we're going to need to add asphalt. Closing costs, I've got $31,000 in here, which is fine. Working capital, I have 2 months of working capital in here. And then this would all be about closing. So if I look here, just from a very rough view, this is if we paid for this property at what they're asking. My purchase would be 1.897. I don't have any improvements in there yet. My closing costs would be 31,000. My working capital would be 36,000. So the total cost of this deal, the total cash needed in is 1.972 million. Now let's look at how we're going to get that. The total funds needed again is the 1.972 million. We're getting a $1.5 million and $17,000 loan. And then we're going to get, if you subtract all this out, we have $455,000 is how much cash we would need to close this deal. We need to pay $455,000 in order to receive negative $12,000 a year of cash flow. Not a huge fan of that so far. Okay. So, we don't have the data itself. So I'm going to do a little bit of quick math here. Okay. They say that this is 19,800 square feet. They say their current NOI is 108,000. Standard storage ratios are 40%. Okay. So a 40% expense ratio, which means for every dollar that I bring in, that I'm going to have 40 cents of expenses and 60 cents is going to go to the NOI. So if I want to just get a rough estimate of what their top line income is, I'm going to take this $108,000 and I'm going to divide it by 0.6. Okay. So let's take 108,359 and divide it by 0.06. 0.6, not 0.06. So 180,598. Let me write that down real quick. So 180,598. And so if we were to take that 180,598 and multiply it by 0.6, again, which would be a 40% expense ratio. If I multiply it by 0.4, my operating expenses would be 72,000 and my NOI would be 108,000. So we got that right. So 180,000, let's go plug that in. So I'm just going to spitball here and let's see if they gave us how many units they have. I don't think that they did. 162 units. Okay. And 53 units at a satellite location. So we're buying 2 properties here. That's important to know. Okay, so we're going to analyze it all as one. So we're going to look at 162 units and let's look at, we're going to come in here. We're going to say there's 162 units. And if there's 162 units and there's 19,800 square feet, that means the average unit square foot is 122, right? And if we wanted to do $180,000 a month divided by 12, that'd be $15,000 a month. So $15,000 a month divided by the 162 means the average unit is renting for $92.59. So $92.59 is what I'm going to plug in there. And we can see our potential gross rent annually is almost $180,000. Let me bump this up just to get it flat. There we go, $180,000. So, they didn't give us any information. I'm just quickly analyzing this from the back of the napkin. If it's even worth me reaching out to the broker to get more information, this is how I do it. I wouldn't say, I don't have the information, I can't do it. You have enough information here to figure out if this is a potentially a good deal or if it's not a good deal. Okay, so let's look at this real quick. The $92 at 122 square feet, and again, we're looking at averages here. That'd be $92.60 divided by 122. They're renting on average for 76 cents per square foot. Okay, so 76 cents per square foot. That's what they're currently renting at. And what I'm going to do here, guys, is I have a lot of this information filled out. Let's run through this real quick. We're going to go look at their property tax calculations. We're going to do this more in a minute. I just like to think that most of the time you're going to pay about 1%. Whatever you buy the property for, you're going to pay about 1% property taxes. We can go and verify that and I'll take a look. But that would mean that my property taxes go up to about $19,000 if I paid, $1.9 million for this deal. My insurance, $2,400 a month. This is on Florida and the coastline. It's probably a little bit more expensive than that. Let's call it almost $5,000 a year. Utilities, I don't think they had any climate controlled, parts of their facility. So the utilities probably aren't $1,000 a month. Their utilities are probably $250 a month. And again, I'm just spitballing here. Property management, 6%. This is an older facility, so repairs and maintenance, $200. Pest control, $50. Landscaping, $200. You're going to say, well, why? Why? They have gravel. What do they need landscaping for? They've got to cut this grass. They've got weeds that'll grow up through here. You're going to have to pay somebody at least on average $200 a month to landscape and make your property look good. Advertising, $300 a month. I think that's good. Accounting, $50. That's to do your annual taxes. That's fine. Labor, $4,000 a year. So this is a smaller facility. I do see that they have, what looks like an office here. I personally would not put a manager in here. I think it's small enough that you could have what I call as a site tech, somebody who only is more like a handyman. They don't sit there all day. So I'd probably bump this down to maybe $1,500 a month is where I would go. And then software, $350. It's actually going to be $250 for their property management. It's going to be another $100 per site for their gate. So that's going to be $450 a month of software. And if they were to take credit cards, which most people do, that's a 3% payment processing, which comes out to $53.92. So I don't care how they're running the facility. This is the expenses I would face. And so whenever we're looking at like NOIs and we're looking at costs and all that, sure, whatever they're doing is fine, but I'm going to analyze for what I'm going to spend. And I want you to do the same thing. And so you can copy this here. If you sign up for my property stats, which I think all of you should, as you'll see why it's so great. You can input this yourself if you want to analyze storage deals. Okay. So, we've kind of gone through very rough. We've analyzed where the deal currently sits today, which I think is super important. Let's go look at the pro forma of what this actually does for us. And so we can see over a number of different years, here's our income statement. We have potential income of 180. We have other income. So it comes out to we're collecting about $180,000 a year. Our expenses is $75,000. Our NOI on our costs would be $103,000, which again, they were at 108, we're at 103. I think that's pretty comparable. I would use my 103 number. And then our debt service is 120,000, which means that we're going to be losing $16,000 a year on this deal. Now, if we did no value add to this project, then I would just want to know what price do I have to pay to hit my goals for a deal like this. So what I always do is I go for a 15% cash on cash in year 2 if it's a value add deal, or a 15% cash on cash year 1 if it's not a value add deal. And we can see here, we think this property is worth about 1.48. This is just, it's simple math, right? We're taking our cap rate that we put in, which is 7%, and we're dividing our NOI, which is again right here, divided by our cap rate. So if you do this number divided by 7%, you'll get this number, and it keeps track of it. It keeps track of how our mortgage is paid down through time. And it shows us if we were to sell this property, how much money we'd get out. If you remember, we needed $451,000 to do this deal. If we were to sell it in year 2, we wouldn't even get $1,000 out. I don't think that's a very good investment. Okay. So our cash on cash, -3%. Our IRR pretty much is never positive until 10 years, which is really bad. Our equity multiple, which is for every dollar I put put in, how many dollars do I get back out? That's not very good either. Our LTV, our loan to value, showing where our debt sits compared to our asset value. That's not very good. And then cap rate on basis, operating expense ratio, all of your key critical stats are right here in one spot. Okay. So what I could do is I could come through and I could goal seek this deal to understand. This is one of the things I built in my property stats is I could say, hey, guys, I want a 15% cash on cash in year one. Tell me how much money that I should pay for this deal in order to hit these goals, right? And so what it's going to tell me is, you can ignore these two because I didn't fill them out, but if I wanted to goal seek for IRR equity multiple, I could, is that you need to pay, Hayden, $1.101 million for this deal. So what I can simply do is I can hit fill in your price. I'll go back to my purchase info. You can see it's filled in the price. You can see it's changed my loan amounts. It's changed all of that. It's changed my cash I need to close this deal. And now if I come back to Proforma, what we're going to see is it's not going to be exactly perfect, but it's going to be pretty close. Well, it is perfect in this case. 15% cash on cash is I need to pay that exact $1.1 million for this deal. So if it wasn't a value add deal, I'd offer 1.1. So now the question becomes, well, it is a value add deal. So what can I actually offer? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit this compare tab and I'm going to go create a duplicate. I'm going to say value add module. And what this does is I'm going to be able to see how the original deal stacks up against a potential value add business plan inside of this deal. Okay, so what I'm going to do, it duplicated all the same information. You can see we're currently adding the duplicate of value add. It took all of my information and changed it. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go through, I'm going to say, okay, what do I really think the market rate is? Because that's the big value add inside of here, is raising and bumping the market rates. So they think if we just look at a 10 by 10, which I think is kind of just the best flat one to look at, it's 100 square feet. They're renting for $1.29 a square foot. The 10 by 15s are renting for $1.50, which is $1 square foot. And the public storage 5 by 5s are renting for, well, that's over $2 a square foot, right? That's 67 divided by 25. They're renting for $2.68 a square foot. I'm going to use the 10 by 10, $1.29, just as a rough back of the envelope to see if this deal makes sense before I spend time diving further into this analysis. And again, if I wasn't making this video, I would do all this probably in less than 10 minutes, create duplicates, all of that, because I would just bang it out, right? So what we're going to do in here, again, we've got 122 square feet on average. So we're going to take 122 and multiply it by 1.29. That gives me the average unit should be renting for $157, right? So I'm going to go in, I'm going to type in $157. And remember, our current income is $180,000. Okay, so $157, that gives me now a potential income of $305,000. But here's how I'm going to model this. If a property is not, if it is not producing the maximum amount of income that it should be, then that property is not stabilized. A stabilized deal, whether it's storage, whether it's a duplex, whether it's apartments, whether it's whatever, it could be not stabilized for really one of two reasons. One, it's empty, there's nobody in it. Or two, the people that are in it are not paying what they should be paying. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, no, this property is not stabilized. And I'm going to write in here, the physical occupancy rate is still high. It's 95% physically occupied, right? But now what I'm going to do, if we remember, how much was that rented for on the front side? 76 cents a square foot, which is $1 or 122 times 0.76 is 92. I think we did 92.60, 92.60. What we're going to be able to see here is we're going to take the $92.60 and we're going to divide that by 157, and that gives us 0.58. So really what I'm going to do is I'm going to subtract 1 out of this. So I'm going to do 1 minus that, and it's going to give me a 41%. So our concession rate is 41% here. Whoops. And you can see what that 41% concession rate does is gives us a rent collected of around $171,000. My math might be off a little bit somewhere, but I want to get this rent collected to essentially $180,000. So we're going to go down to 37% and 182. So we're going to go back up to 38%. And now we've got rent collected about $180,000. And then I have to tell the system, or really my business model, how long is it going to take me to get to that higher rent? I'm at 180,000. I want to go to 305,000. How do I actually do that? And so what I do whenever I'm just modeling it, if I'm physically occupied, I think I'm going to stay physically occupied, but I'm going to reduce, just as, you know, an initial analysis, is I'm going to reduce my concession rate by about 10% a year. I think that's a very conservative method to do. So I'm going to go from 38 to 28. I'm going to add another year, year three. Year three, I'm going to go from 28 to 18. And year four, I'm going to go from 18 down to 8, and then I won't have any more. And if I don't add a year 5, that pretty much shows that I'm now at what is peak physical occupancy and concession rate, which is 95% and 0%. So I want to make sure I add these in, that we're at 95, 95, 95 on the physical occupied. We don't have a problem being physically occupied. And so now that's the only change I have to make. The only other change that I want to make is I think that if we want to charge these premium rents that other competitors are doing, we need to add asphalt. We need to make this property a little nicer. I don't think we're going to get the premium market rents on gravel. So I want to understand how much is that going to cost me. And I just want to take like a square footage just through Google Maps here of how much gravel that they have. Looks like there's a building there. So we're going to drag from here to here, here, boom. And again, we're just rough estimating. That's 4,200 square feet. We have 1, 2, 3 of those. And so 3 times 4,200, 3 times 4,200 is 12,600. So let's go make a note here, right? We have 12,600 square feet of gravel. Let's say asphalt costs us $4 a foot. $4 a foot for asphalt. So we need to add an improvement up here, right? The improvement needs to be asphalt, and this is going to be 12,600 times 4. So we're going to spend $50,400, $50,400 on the improvement. That's going to increase our cash. We need to close this deal. If our lender would lend on it, we could say yes, and we could actually show that, you know, the lender is going to lend on 80% of that. It's going to be rolled into our loan. So we need to do some improvements if we're going to charge higher rents. That's pretty much a rule for value add, unless the facility is nice and they're just not running it properly, which is pretty rare. Okay, so let's look at the pro forma. And now let's take a look at the pro forma on this actual value add deal. If we go through and look at this, we can see, again, one mistake I made here is we left our purchase price low. We need to come back up to 1.87. How much were they asking for this thing? 1,897,000. Okay, and we'll plug that in. And now let's go look at our pro forma. And so as we can see in year 1, we still have negative cash flow, but in year 2, our cash flow really starts to jump, right? Cash flow starts to go to 20, 50, 80. Our property value, again, starts out a little low, 1.5 million, less than we're buying it for, but our property quickly goes up. And let's see what our cash on cash is. So our cash on cash, again, starts out negative, then it goes to 4, 10, 16, 21. Our IRRs are pretty strong at 0, 0, 26, 35, 35. That's strong IRRs. This is a good value add project at the 1.897. This would give me enough information to say, okay, let me dive deeper into the competitors. Let me verify my assumptions about property taxes. Let me verify my assumptions about the, the dollar, what was it? $1.29 in market rents. Let me get the actual rent rolls. Let me talk to the broker. Let me verify the information. That's how I would go about modeling out a value add project. That's my process. My Property Stats gives you the tools. And then what's cool about this, right? If we want to view the results, we can obviously say, hey, here's the original deal, buying it at 1.1 million. Here's the value add in year 1. Well, guess what? We can come through and we can analyze this over multiple years, and we can see which of these is actually a winner. Of course, if we can buy this deal for 1.1 million and add value, we'd love to do that. But this just gives you optionality. You could also create other alternatives. You could create, hey, what if this thing doesn't rent at the, $1.29? What if it rents at $1 a square foot, right? So, we could quickly do that. So let's just duplicate this deal. And let's say, value add, $1 a foot. We can create this. Yes. And we just duplicated the duplicate. We didn't duplicate the original, which is good. We keep all of our assumptions. But now we're going to just list this at $1.22 a square foot. We're going to keep all of our other assumptions. We can come to our pro forma. We can view our pro forma. We can view our results, and we can see how these deals stack up. Again, we've got the original deal. We have the duplicate deal at the $1.29 a square foot, and we have the value add at $1 a square foot. And we can come through, analyze this over multiple years, and see how these stack up against each other and which is the best option. So I hope this video was helpful. If you guys enjoyed it, go sign up for My Property Stats. It's super cheap. This whole module to analyze unlimited deals is $99 a year. You can goal seek, you can compare, you can underwrite deals, you can also share. Let me show you real quick before we jump out of this how you would do this. So if we had just analyzed this deal, so if I wanted to share that deal, I'd come back into my pipeline here, and what's really cool is if I want to send this to my banker, if I want to send this to my partner, if I want to send this to investors, I would just come in here, I'd click this little share button, and I can see what all I want to share with them. Do I want to share my due diligence? Do I want to share just the pro forma and I don't want to share all my assumptions? Do I want to share everything? I can copy that link to share. I can grab it, okay, and I can share it with other people. And essentially what that'll look like is if somebody else receives the share link, is that they're going to be able to see all the work you've done, but they're not going to be able to actually edit it. So it's really cool. It's kind of like Google Sheets, but for deal analyzing, storage, storage, multifamily, whatever. It's like Google Sheets on your analysis and all your documents. If you had uploaded due diligence documents, then the other person could see them all in here and they could view those due diligence documents if you wanted to allow them access. So it's really cool. It's really powerful. Again, it's only $99 a year. I'll put the link below if you guys want to sign up. I'd love for you to. It's an amazing tool. I'm using it every single day. I hope this video is helpful. If you have any questions, drop them below, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Be great.